Hello and welcome back to another segment of Retirement Essentials. In today's short segment, I want to share with you a recent Facebook Live video that I did training on taking advantage of 2020's no RMD rules. That's right, in 2020 you do not have to take your RMDs, but you might be asking yourself, so what? I don't have to take out of my account. But let me share with you in this video a few very powerful principles of why you can take advantage of that and improve your future taxes. So we'll see you in the video. Hello Facebook and welcome back. My name is Devin Peterson and I'm excited to share with you a couple more insights into your retirement finances inside of the new world that we live in. So today's topic of our conversation here on Facebook Live is taking advantage of 2020's no RMDs. But before we start, I did want to mention that I know a lot of these videos that you see online, you never really know what people are wearing, but I do want to let you know I am wearing dress shoes, I am wearing dress pants. There's no boxer shorts or basketball shorts involved here. We are showing up how we are. So with that comedic introduction, I guess, I just wanted to kick this off to have this conversation about taking advantage of 2020's no RMDs. And if you follow me and you've been listening to a lot of my Facebook Lives, you'll kind of see a popular trend, which is there's so many opportunities to be had within your retirement finances. We just need to understand and see them inside of your personal finances or in the light of these new regulations and legislation that have been passing. So if you feel like every time I show up on Facebook, I'm kind of banging down the door saying, hello, hello, open your eyes and see what is here and take advantage, I guess that's me. So that's kind of where we want to start today is how to take advantage of 2020's no RMDs. So with that topic, you might be asking, why is there no RMDs? So there's fundamentally two changes in legislation that's happened in the last roughly 6.5 months that's made an impact on what we're talking about today. So the first of that is the Secure Act that was passed in December of 2019 with no knowledge of the upcoming pandemic. But the Secure Act is the Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement Act. You ever wonder how Congress comes up with these acronyms and these titles? It's actually pretty impressive, but the Secure Act sounds good. The Setting Up Every Community for Retirement Enhancement Act. At that time, they extended the required minimum distribution age from 70.5 to 72. But before we kind of continue, let me explain what that means. So in all of your retirement accounts, your IRA, your 401k, a 403b plan, a TSP plan, all of these pre-tax dollars that you've been saving throughout the course of your retirement, this required minimum distribution rule would say during the year, the taxable year in the past that you turned 70.5, you were required to take a sizable distribution from that. Now those distributions usually started at about 3.65% of your total account of the balance of the previous year, and you would need to take that out as a fully taxable distribution. Now what Congress has said is they're going to bump that age to 72. Now why would they bump that to 72? Well, essentially they're giving retirees another 1.5 years or so to defer taxes and not have to pull out if possible. Now, why would they do that? Well, retirees are living longer because of our health system. We have improved health care that's helping us live longer. And Congress doesn't want people to run out of money just as much as you do. I think you don't want to run out of money more than Congress thinks that they care about you. But that was the idea, to delay it. So that was the first legislation that changed. So if you're listening to this and you're approaching 70 and a half, hopefully you had already known that that was an impending date that you might have to start taking withdrawals, but that's no longer a requirement. It's pushed out to the year in which you turn 72. Okay. Now, the second piece of legislation that has changed was the more recent CARES Act, or the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, that initially put a pause on RMDs in 2020 altogether. So regardless of your age, if you were 75, you don't have to take it out, an RMD out in 2020. Now, if you're under 70 and a half, that has no material impact on you. But if you're over your required minimum distribution age, that's a huge bonus and opportunity for you to do some tax planning and efficiency inside of your retirement accounts. So let's kind of talk through that, what that might look like, and why that would be the case, and why we're talking about taking advantage of our 2020's no RMD year. Well, the first way that you can capitalize on that is really understanding your tax story. And I've shared this with you before, but I'm going to go here again because I think it is so valuable. So this is internally within the Brighter Wealth Advisors and Academy, we've created a process called a tax story. This is a tool to help us as your advisory team and you as the retiree understand the different stages of your taxes. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, in your working years, and then once you start taking Social Security, and then once you're in your RMD years, each one of these quote unquote chapters of your story has an impact inside of your retirement finances and your retirement taxes. So if you're trying to take advantage of some tax changes, by golly, you should know what tax bracket you're going to be in the future and how it compares to today. So this is an extremely valuable tool that, quite honestly, I have not seen used at any other advisory firm in this type of approach. And I think it is so valuable. And I think that you should reach out and access that. But it's so important to understand where you're at today in your tax story and where you're going to be in the future. For example, let's kind of go back over to this worksheet, this tool. If you knew that you're in a 22% bracket now, and then once you start taking your RMDs, you're in a 24% bracket here in your RMD years, would you not prefer to pay 22% now as opposed to 24% later? Would you want to pay more taxes or less taxes? And so that's kind of the idea there, is understanding when you're likely to pay more taxes. Now, I don't want to get on my soapbox again, but what you hear me talking a lot about as well in this Facebook Lives is the likelihood of taxes being increased in the future. Well, why is that? Well, we had $23 trillion of debt. Now, since March, we have $25 trillion in debt, and this increasing debt has to be paid back sometime. And so any increase of debt is really just a loan on future taxes down the road. So understanding your current tax brackets and then looking forward to what those brackets are later is very valuable. So if you know that, what you can then do to start capitalizing on that knowledge during 2020 is doing a few different things. You can just blanket take out a withdrawal, lock in what you know is your lower tax bracket for the year, because you don't have to take an RMD. You can take out more than the RMD or less than the RMD all the way up to that lower tax bracket. Now, inside of the current legislation, you can do a Roth conversion for that RMD amount that you would have had to take out. Now, in 2019, what you would have had to do a Roth conversion is you would have had to take a fully taxable distribution first, that's your RMD, and then on top of that, you could do a Roth conversion, which is taking your IRA pre-tax dollars and putting them in a Roth IRA so it can grow tax-free. In 19, you couldn't do that, or that's what you had to do. In 2020, instead of taking that taxable distribution first, you can maximize the Roth conversion option and put that into a Roth IRA, as opposed to having a taxable distribution first and then a smaller amount into a Roth IRA. So the number one way you can capitalize on this new rule of no RMD is using that for Roth conversion space. Now, I will tell you, kind of going back to this worksheet, there are folks out there, and you might be these type of folks, that you're in retirement and you actually don't pay taxes. Your primary source of income might be your Social Security, and then you're taking some withdrawals from your IRA or 401k, but not enough to put you into a tax bracket. So if that is the case and you're in a zero tax bracket, 2020 is a great opportunity to maximize up to your tax bracket the tax-free withdrawal from your pre-tax account. So as a function of planning, this can be so valuable not only for you in your accounts, but for your children that are likely to inherit these accounts. Because I'll tell you, if you are in a zero tax bracket, likely your children are not in a zero tax bracket. And if you pass away and they inherit an IRA or 401k, they're going to have to pay taxes on that. So take advantage of the opportunity you have now to pay zero tax within that withdrawal, as opposed to leaving it for your children to pay through their income tax bracket. Does that make sense? I hope it does. The last thing that I want to bring up is maxing out your tax bracket. Now I know I just mentioned a zero tax bracket, but as you fill out this tax story worksheet and tool, you're likely going to be in a 12, 22, or 24% tax bracket. And so this tool helps you in this bottom part, this part B, taxes. You'll be able to see exactly what your marginal rate is and then how much bracket space you have in that tax bracket. However, if you go down to the end of this tool, we have part C, which are the strategies. And this is where, as a function of planning, you can identify to the dollar how much that you can take as a withdrawal or as a Roth conversion and still stay within that tax bracket. So this can be extremely valuable for you to not only broadly understand where you're at, but come in with surgeon specifics and accuracy and carve out exactly how much inside of your tax bracket on how much you want to pay moving into the last part of that year. So extremely valuable. I will note, because we are far into 2020, I know July 15th has kind of moved up as your tax deadline for contributing to a lot of these accounts, but these Roth conversions need to happen before the end of the year. So for 2019, you can't go back and do a Roth conversion for 2019, but absolutely moving forward, you can make those conversions happen. So that's really what I want to share with you today, is the strategies of how to really take advantage of 2020's no RMD scenario or environment. I promise you it can be so valuable for you to gain these tools. In fact, later on next month in July, I'll be hosting a special live event where we'll really lay out a couple more details on how to really understand the changing environment with these legislative acts and your own tax brackets, and how to start implementing some of these improvements. So we actually have a special live event. It's called Retirement Taxation Essentials, or the 3 Costly Myths that the IRS wants you to believe workshop on July 15th. So in the show notes for this Facebook Live, in this post, I'll put a link to the registration page for that. It's a free class. Sign up. Come listen to us lay out a couple of things to consider as you move into 2020 and beyond, particularly in a post-COVID world. I think it can be really valuable for you. But join. Ultimately, we really want to put tools like this tax story or some of your RMD worksheets or charitable giving effective worksheets inside of your corner, so you and or your current advisor and or your CPA can implement some of these changes for this next year and moving up and through retirement. So I'm excited to share that with you. I hope to join you. I hope that you'll join us inside of that special event, Taxation Essentials Masterclass. And as always, thanks for joining me here on Facebook Live. It's always kind of fun to roll through, see your comments, and be able to share this important content with y'all. So thanks so much and have a great day.